Hello, people. What's going on? As you can see, we are outside. We are in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we're in the car is because finally we're about to see Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Everyone's been talking about this film online.
Yes.
You can't go anywhere without this film being mentioned somewhere or
No.
somebody trying to leak some kind of spoiler.
Yeah.
So here we are at the cinema, or the movies, as you Americans like to call it. And yeah, this one, I'm looking forward to it. I am and I'm not. I'm only looking forward to it because everyone else keeps telling me how good this film is. And that's why.
That's what we've heard. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's been a massive blockbuster in terms of revenue and viewership. I think it's in the top 10 box office takings of all time.
Yeah, I read something like that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we've seen a lot of Spider-Man films, and I'm somebody who says, you know what, there's been about 12, 13 Spider-Man films in the last 15 years, and I am over these films. I'm not gonna lie, I am over these films. I think this one might be the last one I watch.
Yeah.
But it's got good reviews and everyone's talking about it, and I kind of know what's gonna happen. I know there's gonna be a lot of people who from the previous films are going to turn up and return. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. We're here in London, guys, Central London.
Central.
And yeah, we're going to go and watch it. And after we watch it, we're going to talk about it and let you know how we felt and let you know what we thought about it. So yeah, we're going to go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Divergent Wizdom, Lego. I think we're late. So yeah, let's go. Yes, so we are back home, ladies and gentlemen. We have watched the film.
Mm-hmm.
What are your initial thoughts? Or should I go first?
You go first.
Well, first and foremost, this film is made for the cinemas. This is what you want to see in the cinema in terms of action. It had everything. You had epic scenes. It had amazing CGI, amazing action sequences, big explosions, epic cinematography.
Yeah.
The action was high stakes action as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think from that perspective, it was a great film to see visually. And like I said before, I think a film like this is just made for the cinemas because it's such a high stake type of film, you know. I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride, really, really fun ride. It was good to see the conversation and the communication between the bad guys, all the villains from previous or various universes, and see how they interacted and how they spoke to each other. That was quite cool to see. And also, of course, it was amazing to see the Spider-Mans together, and also to see their interaction and to see how they communicated their problems, because sometimes only a Spider-Man knows a Spider-Man's problem.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
I can keep going on, but what about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good film. All the same reasons you've said. I think for me, the main takeaways were that I really enjoyed the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spideys getting to come back through to this universe and resolve some of the mystery or unresolved things from their own timelines, from their own previous backstories, and also give us all as viewers the updates on how their lives went on after we left them.
Yeah,
because we won't be getting any more of their kind of Spider-Man stories.
Cool.
So I really appreciated that, especially as someone who those would have been I prefer those Spider-Man movies to, or those versions of Spider-Man to Tom Holland's version.
Yeah. And it also made it more layered as well. It added to the whole multiverse feel.
Yeah.
Rather than two Spider-Mans from two different shows, it felt like two different universes.
Yeah.
I think they got that point across really well through the interactions between not only the villains, but the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is the new name.
Go on.
Yeah, I agree. I think nostalgia funny enough, as we're watching the Boba Fett series, nostalgia seems to be the theme of 2022 so far, even though this is a 2021 movie. It obviously relied and drew heavily on the nostalgia of the previous brands of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
including the villains, which the villains themselves are some really like big boy actors.
Yes.
I mean,
it's good to see them all come together.
yeah.
All those really big actors. Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
I love Willem Dafoe. Anyway.
Willem Dafoe he's, you know, when you say someone's like man on the match, his portrayal might have been one of the best pieces of acting in the whole movie. Because he's just fantastic, and he, above everybody, made me believe that that was Green Goblin from that original movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Jamie Foxx, because he looks different, Sandman, the characters are all a bit different, they're a bit moved on.
Really? Yeah.
I felt he was more.
I think he played a more prominent role.
Yeah.
Than the other villains, but because he is, he was, I think, the original villain for the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. So he played an important role of continuity, of familiarity, because he was, I guess, the original villain. I'm pretty sure he was, or at least one of the original villains.
And for me, the hierarchy of actors, because when each of these original movies took place, actors were at different places in their careers. And now that people have come back, like, for example, for me, like, Jamie Foxx is such a massive star.
Yeah.
To have him in this movie, reprise his role, the quality, the star quality, they had the star quality there. But for me, the scene stealers was Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And I know that a lot of people will probably disagree with me and say it's Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, that boy can cry. Well done, sir.
He does a lot of crying in his films.
Yeah.
That teary eye, red eye thing. A lot of emotion. But I guess he's the youngest Spider-Man out of the three.
Yeah.
I think because he's the youngest Spider-Man out of the three, I think I relate to him the least. And his decisions and the choices that he makes, I think wind me up a little bit more because they're a bit more childish, and if that makes sense. So I do like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but I prefer Tobey Maguire. And I think I even prefer Andrew Garfield, despite the fact that I don't think the Andrew Garfield films were the best films.
Yeah.
I prefer the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man as well. But yeah, Tom Holland does his thing. I think his Spider-Man's just a bit too young, a bit too silly. I think one thing I said to you was the fact that I feel like it's always him and his buddies that are at the center of saving the world. And I think, why is it always up to these kids? Why aren't, more adults getting involved? It's a bit, for what's at stake here, the response doesn't match.
It's not proportionate.
It's not proportionate, And I think in this film, one thing I struggled to, I did understand, but at the same time it bugged me, was the fact that this Spider-Man, Tom Holland, Peter Parker, was willing to, not put the universe back together just to see if he could save these villains or save the outcomes of these villains or stop them from dying or whatever happens to them in their own universes. And I thought to myself, that's sweet, but come on, just press the button. Let's get the universe back together, get everything, and stop everything from exploding or from being destroyed or whatever the outcome was going to be. But that decision was a bit, I felt was a bit naive. And I thought to myself, after everything this Spider-Man has gone through, Tom Holland has gone through in terms of the blip, fighting Thanos, he died himself, I think, and came back to life. And, I thought his character development is just not enough for me. I still think he does silly things and he makes immature choices. And I think I just want a bit more maturity from him.
It's a fair point. I think it's a fair point because, as you're watching this film, your brain, which is a muscle, is trying to determine the storytelling and make it all make sense to you via your schema or however your brain is putting it all together.
For sure.
You will tell yourself or convince yourself or make it fit the story because I'll overlook this piece or I'll overlook that thing because the general arc of the story or the general feel of this movie or film or program is going along the way that makes sense to me. It's making some kind of sense. I think I was having those moments throughout the movie, especially in relation to just Tom's portrayal of Spider-Man. I do think similar to you, his decision making doesn't always make sense to me, and I know some of it feels a bit far-fetched, and I know I'm saying that when there's like wizards and freaking
people with powers and Spider-Man.
But even in that, when something feels far-fetched in an already far-fetched fantastical world, then maybe you're missing the mark slightly. And it might be that, maybe I'm not in the age range that this kind of movie
maybe it's for younger
is trying to go
viewers,
for, but anymore. But at the same time, like, I think we just give young people a bit more credit for kind of like what they get into and the things that they would be doing. But at the same time, you would have more of an adult presence.
I think one thing they tried to portray is the fact that he saw good in them, and the context is different because at the time they are battling Spider-Man and they're doing, I guess, wicked things, evil things, destroying whatever, right? But to our Spider-Man, he just met them.
Yeah.
So to him, it's like, what, you guys are going to die? That's not okay. Well, let's try to change that. So of course, I do get it. I do get that sort of mentality. Let's try to change your outcome. But I don't know. I just think it was a bit naive considering all the other things that he's already gone through with the Avengers. That's all. In general, I guess I struggle to understand his motivation for not wanting to push that button. I think I struggled with that throughout the film, if I'm being honest. So, anything that you didn't like? The use of music? What's your impression, or what do you think about the use of music in general in the film?
It was like an epic soundtrack. That's one way to kind of encapsulate how the music felt and sounded. I think for me, part of the use of it, some of it wasn't marrying for me in terms of how dramatic the music was with what was actually going on in the scene. And maybe that's because I just wasn't connecting to the scene as much. But there are a few points throughout the movie where I thought, gosh, this is really, really, really like dramatic music, like the kind of music from like Inception type. But maybe that is what it was, that level of dramatic. And but maybe, I just wasn't.
Maybe there was a disconnect. Disconnect for you, and yes, why? I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like the bit where I think he was walking towards the Green Goblin while he was on the floor, when they were fighting on that giant shield. I think the music was really loud and dramatic, and I thought, whoa, this is. I'm not quite sure if the music here matched, or I think maybe the music that was playing when Aunt May was dying as well.
Yeah.
I think, if I can recall, I'm not quite sure if that. I thought to myself, this music is. I don't know if it's matching the mood. I like the dramatic and climatic feel they try to go for, and the epic feel they try to go for with the orchestra and the strings and whatever. But sometimes I just thought it was a bit forced. But that's just me.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And again, maybe it's because the younger characters are meant to resonate more for younger people. But at the same time, that's not always how film works. Anybody can relate to any character. It's just, like you said, when you tie it into all of the things that this Spider-Man's been through, making the same decisions that will lead to potentially negative consequences, reckless types of behavior. I guess it's maybe for me because it's a different kind of Aunt May in this universe is a different kind of Aunt May to the Aunt Mays that I've seen with the Tobys and Andrew's Aunt May. Aunt May, though their Aunt Mays were sensible, like family matriarch types, whereas this Aunt May, because she was maybe the way she was portrayed, I just wasn't. As she was dying, I was like, oh yeah, of course she's got to die because he doesn't have an Uncle Ben in this universe. So his great tragedy, so to speak, hasn't happened yet. But the way that the Marvel movies have portrayed the loss of Tony Stark for him, I had already thought that he'd gone through some really deep tragedy that would like set him, course correct him, or change the arc, so to speak.
Did he need another one?
Yeah. I actually wasn't expecting for Aunt May to die in this movie, and I kind of felt like it's a bit wasted at this point.
Wasted. I don't think it needed
No.
it needed Aunt May's death to advance his storyline, especially when it was all his fault. If he just pressed the button, it was just, you know.
Yeah.
So that made it feel a bit, well, it was kind of your fault. So all of this, everything, it is kind of your fault, even though you tried to do what you felt was right, the
Yeah.
good thing, but it
Yeah.
still is. So,
Exactly.
and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth in the end. I've watched a film about a guy trying to clean up his mess, basically. But Tom Holland did well. He did well. He plays this version of Spider-Man well. Like I said, not
Yeah.
my favorite version, but he plays it well. You can see into his soul when he's got those puppy eyes and he's crying and
Yeah.
he's teary.
Yeah.
I heard people in the cinema just, with tissues and blowing their nose,
Yeah.
and I know it's not the flu. Could be, but
This could be right now.
people are crying. I think in the cinema.
Yeah, people were feeling it.
Yeah, but.
And he is great, like, don't get me wrong, like, I think that movie, was it The Devil All the Time? All the Time? That movie, he's fantastic in that movie. I think he can portray a range of great emotions, and he does so in this movie.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe this is supposed to be the thing that he has to go through to then start making more safer, calculated decisions.
Well, it's a full reset, surely, right? No Tony Stark around. He's got a different suit without all that tech. It's good to see all the old suits as well.
Yeah.
All the suits that belong to the different Spider-Man as well. It's good to see them fight together and team up. That was just great stuff. It's just nostalgia. It's just like, all the things you wanted to see, you got to see,
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of films.
And
It was a gift. It was basically a gift to us.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Fanboys would have been crazy coming out the cinema.
Yeah, it's the way that movies are shot now, and the way that the audience gets to interact in a way that we never did before. So back in the day, if you liked something in a movie, you wouldn't, like, for example, the Spider-Man meme. For them to insert a couple of points in the movie where the Spider-Man meme was able to be, like, portrayed for real, like art imitating life, life imitating art, all these NFTs, all this virtual stuff, the way everything, the way of the world. I just think it's really interesting. Like, we as a viewer, we have more power than we ever have before. Like, you wouldn't see a nugget like that. You wouldn't see these little Easter eggs in movies, and they're placed in the way that the directors and the showrunners and the writers, they actually specifically do attempt to place. And I don't know, like, how much does that change the vision or the way that characters are developed and stories are told? I don't know. I do think we're having a lot of influence as the consumer, so to speak. Where I was talking before about art imitating life and life imitating art and conversations transcending, one thing I thought that was interesting was Jamie Foxx's character speaks about being surprised when Andrew Garfield takes his hat off, helmet off, mask off.
Mask off. Yeah.
And he's like, makes a comment, oh, I thought you might actually be a black person underneath there because
What you're doing.
Where you're from.
Yeah.
He'd made some assumptions. And I think even Tom Holland said something in an interview recently about maybe the next iterations of, Spider-Man doesn't even have to be Spider-Man. I know that there's Spider-Gwen and there's all other kinds of versions of Spider-Man, including Miles Morales, which I thought was one of the greatest portrayals of Spider-Man so far, on screen anyway. So yeah, where is this heading in the future?
Leading? Who knows? Whatever. I think I am Spider-Man out. And it's interesting because people's behavior, people are interesting because we all say we want something different until we get another Spider-Man film. We all say we want something unique until next year we get the 10th 100 Spider-Man film and we all go to see it. And it's the same. And we're like, what is it with Spider-Man films?
I don't know. He's
and
one
Batman films and Superman films. It's like there are so many superheroes, but we just keep redoing the same ones. We saw Batman with Christian Bale, then we saw the Justice League and Batman vs Superman and all these ones. Then we're getting another reboot of Batman with what's his face?
Twilight guy.
The Twilight guy. And I'm like, whoa. And it would probably break box office records again.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
Why?
I
Why
think
again?
do you know what it is? Maybe we like, there's comfort. Is there comfort in familiarity? Maybe we say we want something different, but a lot of times we don't really.
Yeah.
We want different versions of the same thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just weird.
That's
But
actually really, really deep comment. We want different versions of the same thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe, I don't know, guys. I'm just thinking
Well, think about
because
all the TV series reboots that we're getting
yeah,
for so many things.
yeah.
They just rebooted Scream, the movie. There's a new movie now.
I think Hollywood are just running out of ideas, but maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I'm good. I'm done. I'm not quite sure
What
if I
about
have
rating?
anything else to say.
What would you give? Let me give you this context first. IMDb says, and you guys can tell us what you think of this, that this is 8.8 out of 10. Not that IMDb is the be all end all, but as a gauge, what for you would you rate
IMDb
this?
ain't the be all and end all. Be all and end all. I'd give it. Do you know what? I'll give it an 8
Okay.
because it was an epic film. It could have been. My gripe with the film was the decisions made by the characters. Like, I don't have to like the decisions that are made by the characters.
Yeah.
Like, that's his decision. He's an idiot. That's him. That is Spider-Man. He's a bit silly. He makes silly decisions. He does silly things. So, you know, and so while it annoyed me, that's just the character. So my annoyance was sort of that kind of thing. But as a film, despite that, you know, it was enjoyable, and the nostalgia appeal, you know, that effect, that nostalgia effect, I think is the thing that carried it. You know, for me, seeing all those guys together, it was great, and yeah, the action was great. So yeah, the generations, man. You seen the first Spider-Man that I saw, and the new Spider-Man together, you know, interacting, helping each other. It was just, yeah, it was so layered, so multi-layered. And so, yeah, that was just good to see.
Yeah.
Good to see. And we've been waiting for it for a long time. And it delivered. It delivered. You know, it wasn't perfect. I wouldn't give it 8.8. I wouldn't give it a 9. Some people are giving it a 10. Behave.
No.
Chill out.
Come on.
But it's up there. It's good. It's a good film. Enjoyable film.
Okay. I want to try and give it an 8, but I can't. There's something about me. It's like it's between a 7 and an 8 for me.
7.5.
Something like that, yeah. And people might be like, why? That's a bit low. But
I understand.
it's not. Yeah, it's a great movie. The best things for me was the trio of Spideys, and them. What I did like was that those two Spideys got to see teamwork, because in their universes, no one knows who they are. Not the people close to them. Whereas in
They've never been on a team.
Tom Holland knows how to do it. And I actually thought when he was going to say, I've worked with a team before he even said Avengers, I thought he was going to say Ned and MJ, because they're constantly working together day by day.
I think he did say that.
He probably did. I probably forgot that. But yeah, I liked that part. So if that for me is carrying the movie, the nostalgia part, then I'm like, Although the overall piece together was great cast, great action, great soundtrack, great acting, I did think that aspects of the storyline fell flat. I didn't think that Aunt May needed to die to further Spider-Man's story along. And yeah, I thought that the nostalgia aspect carried it more than anything, which is that what you're really looking for when you're moving forward with a kind of franchise? Or is it more about just bringing everything together?
It worked though, didn't it?
It did work. I did enjoy it, and I don't
Breaking
mean it as a
box office records right now, isn't it? Smashing all the records, apparently. So
I
it
think
worked.
what I would say, the only thing I could liken this to is what Brock Lesnar said to Roman Reigns the other night, which is he's done it all on his own. Spider-Man seems to need a lot of help from other people in the Marvel universe to carry the movies and bump them up, like give them higher ratings.
No, you sound like a hater. I'm just stating facts.
But
So,
overall, a good movie and an enjoyable movie, definitely.
Yeah, for real.
Worth going to the movies for.
Marvel, MCU, Sony, whatever. You guys did it, man. You smashed it out the park. Well done. Really enjoyable film. Years in the making.
Yeah.
But, it came together and it worked. It worked. Really enjoyable film. I hope you guys enjoyed our talk, our discussion, our review, breakdown, and everything in between. Spider-Man No Way Home. We finally seen it. What do you guys think? Was it as good as everyone else is making it out to be? You know, what are the, bad parts of the film, bad points? What you guys liked, what you didn't like, what could have been done better? What's going to be happening in the future? Are there going to be future films? You know, what were the highlights of the film for you? Just let us know. Let us know your thoughts. Comment below, guys. Smash the like. Turn on the notifications. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Share the video and all of that. Keep the interactions coming. We hope you enjoyed the discussion.
Let us know if you disagree with us on anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of you might do. But
Divergent opinions welcome.
Anyway, thanks, guys.